A monster is lurking. Stealthily it creeps through the forest, stalking fresh victims. Silent, unseen, deadly. None are spared who know its withering touch. In an onslaught of horror that spans millennia, countless thousands have been lost. It is enormous. It is unrelenting. It is
delicious. Everybody, you know me, Half Car, what's up? We are in the Malheur Forest in Oregon, I'm sure I pronounced that right, trying to locate Armillaria solidipes. And no, that is not the name of a Greek stripper. It's a mushroom. Most people call it a honey mushroom, or I guess rather it's a type of honey mushroom. It's known to kill trees around here. What it does is, it's got these little black tendril things. I believe they are called rhizomorphs, and the tree roots are often connected in forests like this. And the little rhizomorphs crawl through the roots and travel from tree to tree, and you'll find little groves of infected trees where after the rhizomorphs have worked their way in through the root system, it damages the tree tissue and cuts off its ability to move water up and down the trunk, and the tree will die. And for a few weeks every fall, the mushrooms that you're used to seeing, the little fruiting bodies will sprout out, usually around the roots, kind of near the bottom of the trunk. You can often tell when the trees are afflicted because their crowns will get thin and they'll change color and their needles will fall off. I think they'll spew a bunch of pine cones because I guess when a tree knows it's doomed, it will try to have babies. Maybe that's kind of like people, right? Ticking clock. Anyway, check out these trees right here. They're all yellowish. That's the kind of thing we've been trying to look out for, though I'm fairly certain, and I was warned by a guy at the Forest Service before we came up here, that there are a number of green, needle trees, conifers in this area that will actually change color and the pine needles fall off in the winter. So the majority of what you're seeing is not actually infected with the honey mushroom. It's natural, it's fine, don't worry about it. Let's say you find a dead tree over here and there are mushrooms on it and they come along and they genetically test it. These giant patches, by the way, are called, I think, genets, possibly genets, I'll look it up. Anyway, you find one of them over here and it's identical to another one over here. They kind of conclude that it is all one big organism. It counts as the same being. So with that in mind, this thing, the largest of the several found in this forest, I guess it's Genet D, is roughly 3 square miles in range. It's huge. It's the largest living thing in the world. It's anywhere from 2,000 to 8,000 years old. It's kind of hard to guess because they judge that based on the growth rate, and that can vary from year to year. And it would weigh anywhere from, if you were able to pile it all up into one big heap, I want to say they guessed between 7,500 and 20,000 tons, give or take. It's like, if you want to think of it as one creature, it's the biggest creature ever. It's bigger than like 200 blue whales. So f*** you whales. They're supposed to be really good to eat. If we could find some, I might fry one up. I don't know if you need a permit to pick them, so definitely check before you come. You're going to have to come probably in August or September. And odds are the Forest Service doesn't mind if you kill these things because they're technically, some people say they're destroying the forest, but they don't kill all the trees, and they're actually part of the whole cycle of, destruction and habitat and regrowth, so take that for what you want. It seems like it's been doing okay for thousands of years, so it's not like we need to worry about intervening. Let's see what we have here. Well, there's plenty of sap, and it looks like somebody cut into it, which I believe is how they usually look for an infection. This whole tiny area seems to be not doing well, and there was a marker and some ribbons tied up implying that forestry people have been out checking into it. I'm not certain if the leaves are meant to be turning colors. A lot of them look like they probably are. Also, a fire came through here, I think fairly recently, and there could be tree damage from that. But if you look, it appears people were trying to check the bark, which is usually an indicator of infection. These trees, both in particular, seem to not be doing so hot. This guy over here has the telltale white mycelium. You'll find that under the bark. Once the black ribosome spread through the roots, this stuff starts growing up under the bark layer. I actually can't guarantee that that is from the honey mushroom, but it is from a mushroom, and that's probably a really good bet out here. If you choose to visit the humongous fungus, quick word to the wise, the road is shite. That's a British word I picked up somewhere. I don't know exactly how to translate it, but it basically means bad. And, don't take any low-riding cars, like a Fiat, for example, up to find the humongous fungus. And I would stop in and talk to the local Forest Service in Prairie City before you head out. They're really friendly. They'll give you a lot of good information, probably give you a map. They told me a story there about a guy who photoshopped giant toadstools and claimed that that's what the humongous fungus was, and all these people freaked out and were disappointed when they found out that it was insane. So just don't forget that old saying, never believe anything you hear, unless you hear it from Half Car Will Travel.
In Oregon State, a menace once haunted. Devious and incipient, shrouded in the guise of enlightenment, sinister forces amassed, sending charismatic cohorts to greet apprehensive innocence with false reassurances. A hidden cabal whispered behind closed doors, conspiring dark deeds, ghostly, abominable.
Silly! We're in the town of Antelope, Oregon. Do you guys care to guess what happened here back in the 1980s? Go ahead and guess. You'll never guess. Don't just Google it. I said guess. Okay, I'll tell you. This guy, I'm not sure how he got started yet, and this is all just my best recollection, limited information, but this dude from India shows up in the States at some point and starts a religious organization named, I guess, after himself. He went by the name of Rajneesh. I'm still digging to find his full name. It's Murad al-Baba Gura. Anyway, about 18 miles from here, the town of Antelope, he started this little commune, and they were going to just make it into like a farm and get their followers to show up and, I don't know, just kind of hang out and do their religious thing. But it got bigger and bigger. Eventually, I want to say the height of it had about 7,000 residents living there, and they were trying to build it into an actual town with a post office and sewer and garbage and buses and all the regular town stuff you see. And the locals didn't really care for it. They were kind of skeptical of these guys, and they had a lot of land disputes. So eventually, the Rajneeshis started moving into Antelope and outvoting I want to say back in the early 80s, it was about 50 people that lived here. And then the population maybe was up to 75 by the height of the conflict. So, thousands of Rajneeshis show up and just start basically taking over. They even renamed the town to Rajneesh, though apparently the public records never got changed. So when they got booted out and it got changed back to Antelope, they didn't even have to update their books. So anyway, this woman by the name of Ma Anand Sheila, who was Rajneesh's spokesperson, apparently she was kind of a hothead. She would stir up arguments and just attack people venomously in interviews, and was accused of illegal activities, including attempted murder, wiretapping, and bugging. And I think she fled to Germany before she was accused of these crimes, and then got extradited and tried for poisoning 751 people with salmonella by tainting the salad bars of nearby communities. It's considered the largest bioterrorist attack in the United States that's ever happened. It's crazy. And after that, there was a whole big storm, and the Rajneesh guy was basically told, we'll let you go if you go back to India and don't come back. And he agreed. I really don't know if Rajneesh himself was the mastermind of all this stuff, or if he was just had the wrong people working for him, but After that happened, the commune collapsed and the town kind of went back to normal, and all that's left of it now is the memory and this plaque outside of the post office, dedicated to those in the community who tried to resist the Rajneesh invasion, as it is called, of the 80s.
In Oregon State, a terrifying power lays sleeping. A looming giant patiently awaiting the fateful day its symphony of destruction can resume. A cold, unfeeling force, the world of the living nothing more than an empty canvas on which to paint its portraits of carnage. The scarred and desolate landscape at its feet a daunting reminder of past calamitous ambition. Horrific, fiery,
Neat. So what I'm talking about in that not at all histrionic introduction is Lava Butte. It's an extension of the Newberry volcano system just outside of Bend, Oregon, part of the Newberry National Volcanic Monument. There is a volcano visitor center and a lava tube nearby, but they were closed, it being like basically winter when we were there. But it's still really cool. You can walk around Lava Butte and you see all the lava and learn some really interesting facts about the place. For example, you can see these trippy boulders that started at the top as tiny little rocks, and then they grew bigger and bigger as they rolled down the hill and picked up material. Its lava flows cover about 1,200 square miles, which is, the size of Rhode Island, give or take. In fact, if you walk around Lava Butte, you'll see just these fields of jagged rocks. It's kind of freaky, like Mordor. It's erupted many, many times, dating back, they think, about 400,000 years. And the most recent, I want to say, was 1,300 years ago. It's had a pretty big impact on the surrounding landscape. At the top, what happens with volcanoes a lot of the time is they'll grow up like kind of a big bulge, like a giant pimple on the earth, and then they collapse in the middle because they're like hollow inside. And they call this the caldera. It's like a big crater. The Newberry caldera formed about 75,000 years ago, and it's a crater the size of the city of Bend. It has 2 alpine lakes and the largest obsidian flow in all of Oregon. Before it collapsed, it would have been about 1,000 feet higher than it is already, which is already pretty high. So if you find yourself near the city of Bend, definitely take some time to do some volcano stuff.
Thanks.
4.
Watching.
Subscribe!